Hi guys, where's the jump button here? This is how I edit a video, and it's going to have some stuff that is relevant to you and not relevant to you. So I'm going to have markers up where you can skip to specific times. Alright, so I start by making a new project. I'm going to just label this 053 because it's the 53rd video I've made in this particular channel, and I'm going to browse it into the correct folder. Now, all of this stuff doesn't really matter for Adobe Premiere. I'm just going to go ahead and OK that. Now, here I've got all my video files, my gameplay file, and my audio file, which is right here. And I'm just going to click and drag them straight in there. Easy done. Alright, so now all my files are in here, and they are just collating in. And on to the next step. Okay, now that everything is imported, I'm going to do the next little bit, which is a bit of a cheat. So I've got all my video here selected, and I'm going to select this one as well, and I'm going to right-click, and I'm going to go Create Multi-Source Sequence. Now, if your audio is already synced with your video, then this is not going to be an issue for you. But because I like to have my voice audio separate from my game video, it is very important to have these things separate. I go down here, and I'm going to go Synchronize Point, which is audio, and then OK, and then it's going to process all the audio, and it should all be synchronized up for me. Now this is the resulting video, and I'm going to open in Timeline, and zoom out, and there are my video files. I'm just going to drag that down so it's easier for me. Okay, now everything should be synchronized, and I'm just going to double check this. And for prominence, and fought each other for... Good, everything is synchronized by the looks of it. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click and drag this down to a new video line. Now, I just realized here that I've got all of the video set incorrectly, so there it's okay. But when I sat down, it looks very dark and out of focus, which is not good. But we're going to live with that for now. Now, I'm going to drag this up and this down, and I'm going to bring in the game footage. Now, I'm going to bring that in between, and first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to find my synchronize points. I'm going to down that, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to find where I tried to synchronize. I'm going to make this one invisible. Okay, so over here is where I started to do the synchronizing point. So I've got this here, and I just pressed up and down on the arrow keys, and I'm going to line that up with my audio. So let's go to the first movement, which is right there, and I'm going to zoom in just a little bit more on to the exact frame. So I'm going to put a cut here. Now I cut that by pressing C, and then I cut and I cut there, and then I'm going to go V, I'm going to select these and delete them. Now I'm going to go back to this, and as you'll see, I brought my keyboard up into shot, and I started to do that right there. And there's the first hit. Right there. Now I'm going to cut here and cut here. V, select, delete, and then I'm going to select this blank space here and press delete, and that will bring everything up, and then I'm going to select here as well, and I'm going to press delete, and that brings everything else up. Now everything here should be perfectly synchronized. I'm going to chroma key out the blue, so I'm going to go here and I'm going to go Ultra Key. Now this is the next step. If you have your video and your game together, this is not a step you need to do, but mine is separate, so this is what I'm going to do. So I go into here, and I'm going to select... Now, I don't want to select dark blue, and I don't want to select a very light, bright blue, because if I do that, then the dark won't get selected, and vice versa if I select a dark one. So I'm going to select something in the middle about here, and then I'm going to go alpha channel under output, so then I can see exactly what is being keyed out in black and what will stay is in white. And I'm going to extend out these two little bits here. And this always takes a little bit of finagling just to get correct. Now, I want myself to be completely white and the rest of it to be black. So I'm going to go right until I am completely white. And I'm going to play with the highlights, get rid of that. Shadows, I'm going to get rid of shadows. Alright, so this is pretty good, but I'm gonna need to raise this up a little bit more. There we go. Pedestal. Good, there we go. These are some good numbers. Now, for the choke and the soften, that's just basically the edges, and I like to have that at about 3 on both on a 1080 video, which will help. Now, turn contrast up, and let's play with the midpoint a little bit. Right there seems good. Now, I don't need to play with the transparency anymore. And I'm going to turn this back to composition. And you'll see now that I'm here. I'm going to then go over to motion. And I'm going to bring this, I'm going to, first of all, actually, for later on, because this is going to become helpful later on, so I'm going to move the center point over the back of my chin. And move myself down here into position, and I'm going to shrink myself just a little bit more than what I'm already shrunk. Right here, I've noticed that something I didn't notice before, which is the chroma here is not brilliant. Now, I could go through and try to middle with the key, but that may not give me the best results. The quickest and easiest thing to go is straight into FX, and then type in crop. And then click and I'm going to drag crop on top of here. And then I'm going to go to effects control, do this. Now, I'm going to zoom out of this a little bit. I'm going to go to, say, 25%. That should do it. And I'm just going to pop a circle around me. It only needs to take out this little bit up here. So that can go there, way outwards, and way downwards. Also, this is going to create a hard line. So if I drag this circle here, that's going to feather where the cropping is going to happen. Now, there's two next steps. I'm going to select inverted, and then doesn't matter whether I do top, left, right, or bottom. I'm going to just drag one across to 100%, and that is now cropped out. And I can disable that, and you can see it kind of popping in there on the video. Now, you'll see here that I've got the audio waveform open, which is done by dragging the bottom of this, or I could just mouse over this and I can extend it out. Oh, one last thing is make sure that these things are all blue that you want to affect in your video edit. Now I go to the beginning here, and this is where I go, hello and welcome. Good, okay. Though I think I stuff up this first one, so hello and welcome to the and right there. Control K. Will give a cut line wherever the playhead is. So that's cut all the way through there. I select that, press delete, bring that back. Now, before I continue on, I'm going to adjust the brightness. Brightness and contrast. And the brightness here, I'm going to turn the brightness up just a smidgen and fiddle with the contrast. There. I'm happy enough with this video look now. And we are going to play through and find out where we're going to cut first. Okay, so I found the first place which I'm going to cut, which is where I'm going to stick my intro video. So I'm going to go Control K, I'm going to select all of this. Now there's a few ways I can do this. I can select all of this manually by clicking and dragging and then moving this along. Or I can use this tool right here, and then everything that's where my mouse is and beyond will be selected, and then I can move it around that way. So I'm just going to click and drag that out for the time being. I'm going to press V, get that tool back, and I'm going to bring in my intro video. Here is my intro video in, click delete, and here it goes. A Mountain Blade mod called Perisno. Cool. And I'm going to trim that up, and that'll be ready for when it plays on YouTube. Okay, so I found the first little bit, which I'm going to cut out, which is going to be... This little bit is going to be very, very small little cutout, which starts right here. Interesting. And it's going to be right about here where I do a cut. I'm going to press Control K, and then I'm going to go to where I'm going to go again. Right there, and I'm going to go Control K. Then I'm going to select the bit in between, and I'm going to go Delete... And then I'm going to select the middle area here and press delete. And that just bridges up the gap, and then it just goes. Really interesting. Apparently has... Good. There we go. Now that's only a little bit, but you can cut out as much as you want. I've cut up to like 10 minutes sometimes. Just bits that are not quite as exciting as it should be. Okay, so here we go is the next part. So I cut at the end of that, and that little bit of dialogue that I did, and then I'm going to cut right here. And I'm going to select this, delete this, and then I'm going to bridge the gap again. And that is the basics of how I make a tighter edit. So then there is none of these big long pauses like you just saw. Like these are big pauses, and this was something that was just not interesting, so I cut that out. Now there is a few ways to zoom in. One is you mouse over where this play bar is, which will allow you to search through all your video, and you can just put your mouse over that and scroll in and out, or you can click and drag on these bits. What I've noticed here is when I go to talk, the game audio is quite loud, so... Welcome to the land of Perisno, where else... Okay, so it quietens down really quickly. But right here, it is very loud. Now, I don't have anything selected, and up here you've got like your video that you can choose from, your effects control, which you saw before, and then the audio mixer here. And with the audio mixer, I can drag down the audio of one of the tracks that I want. Now, this is the one that the game audio was on, so I'm going to drop that down about 10. And... welcome to the land of Perisno. And that's done. Now, this lets me teach you another little trick. If I click here, and I want the volume setting here to be here as well, I go here and I go Control-C, and then I select the audio files which don't have the volume change, and I go to Paste Attributes. And here it goes, I'm going to paste on volume, and these don't matter, but the volume is the one that matters. And these will also now have had their volume changed. If I click here, you see that the volume is the same here as well. Freaking elves and stuff like that in it. So here I'm going to show you the next bit which I'm going to do. I found a bit here where I want to chuck a bit of video in. So, it's going to be... select your gender. I'm gonna be a woman. And right there, I'm going to cut and I'm going to extend this out. Now, I'm going to stick in a song called Man, I Feel Like a Woman. Now, this is a little bit of a cheat. This is probably not how you should do it, but this is how I do it. Now, I go to keep vid, I'm going to put in the web address, I'm going to search this, and the video quality isn't really important for these bits, I find, so I'm just going to save link. And usually you save Zelda, but this time Zelda is saving Link. So now, the most awesome thing about this is the fact that this here in Chrome, I could just click and drag over to Premiere and drop in. Hey presto, done. Now if I double click on this, it'll bring it up here and I can trim it to where I want it to be. So, I'm gonna find what I want. Now there's two ways I can do this. There's these little brackets here, I could just hit I, and that'll start the video from here, and then go to the end of it. Man, I feel like a woman. And there is where I want it to end, and I hit O, which I could also hit here. Now, if I want to bring specifically just the video, I can click and drag this little bit of film here, or if I want to drag the audio in, I can click and drag this little bit, but I want both, so I'm going to click here, and I'm going to drag that down, that's going to bring in the video and the audio. Now, there's a big gap here, I'm going to select that, and I'm going to press delete. And now, this is way too small in the middle of the video, considering that the rest of it is all normal size. So, when I've got this selected, I hit Effects Control, I go into Motion, and there's two ways I can do this. I can scale it here and eyeball it, or I could select Motion itself, and then I can just click and drag this out until it's the right size. Now, there's where it's full screen, but I like to make everything 16 by 9 done. And here we go. I'm gonna be a woman. Man, I feel like a woman. This is gonna make it hard. Alright. Now, I've shown you how to do video, but how I do pictures. I found this little bit here that I want. The hard wants what the hard wants. Now, I'm going to grab some pictures. I'm going to go onto Google. Now, that's a JPEG, and I don't want the white around that to be there. So I'm going to go into Photoshop, and I'm going to get rid of that white. Now, just like Photoshop, I can click and drag this into Photoshop, and right there, there we go. I had to drag it to the right place. Now, because this white is very easy to select, I can just go Magic Wand Tool, and I can select that and delete. Oh, wait, hold on. Alright, so I can't delete it on a background layer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go Duplicate Layer. I'm going to OK the duplication. The white is selected and press Delete. And now I have a transparent background. Now that I've got that done, I can just go File, I can go Export, Quick as PNG. Now PNG has the transparent backgrounds that I want. Now, I'm going to click and drag this in just over top. It doesn't really exactly matter where this is going to be, because this is going to be scaled up first. So it's going to be about that size. I'm going to rotate a little bit. There we go. That's my heart. I'm going to click motion. I'm just going to drag it over here for now. And I'm going to find where I want this to be in. So I'm going to go, the hard one. So in the middle of me saying heart is where I want it to come in. And I'm going to select a keyframe on position. And then I'm going to scroll back a few frames. And then I'm going to just move this heart out of the way. So here's what it'll look like.
The hard ones with the hard...
But that looks a little bit unnatural. So I'm going to select this, and I'm going to select this little button here, which allows me to move between keyframes. And I'm going to zoom in by the way that I do down the bottom. And then I'm going to move back 1 or 2 frames. And I'm going to then select it again, and I'm going to move it beyond where it goes. So it looks like it kind of bounces a little bit. Now, this is a trick I learned from Game Grumps, I will admit. But I knew about this sort of stuff before with animation.
The hard ones with the hard...
And that has a little bit of a bounce there. But sometimes you may want a double bounce, and you can put that in if you want. So that goes there.
With the hard ones.
Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this in, and I'm going to go on the second once for this.
Hard ones with the hard one.
Right there is where I'm going to have this pop in. So I'm going to do exactly the same thing. So I'm going to go, I put the keyframe in, then I'm going to go back a few frames, and right there, I'm going to move this. Now, this will automatically move, put a keyframe in every time I move it after the keyframe animation toggle has been selected. So I'm just going to move that over here, and that's going to come in from that side, and it's going to do the same sort of thing.
I'm going to go Elvin. The hard ones with the hard ones.
I have this little snapshot I have here from my intro video. So if I go into my intro here, I just took the picture from here. And I'm going to grab a little bit of bars and tone. And I'm going to click and drag here, specifically the audio only. Over this, I want to have a little bit of text. So I'm going to go up here to title, new title, default still. Now this is the text I want to put in. Now, you can change everything you want. You can add a stroke around it. So if I go to stroke, I go outer stroke. I can change the color to whatever I want that stroke to be. I can change the magnitude. And once you've done all of that, you can go down here to styles. You can right click and go new style. And when you do that, that'll save your style and you should have it down here. And it'll be down here somewhere where you've put it. But I have one prepared earlier, so I've got this selected, and I just select the layer style, which I already had here. And done. That's all good. Drag this in, and then I'm going to trim that to the size I need, and it'll go like this.
Sorry to any women watching this.
Now here I've cut out a little section, and I'm going to show you what I was talking about before with moving the middle center of where the picture is. Now remember I moved this here just behind the head? I'm going to click here and I'm going to, in this little section here, only this, doesn't do the rest of the video, I'm going to drag that out and it'll be scaled up perfectly to where I want it to be. I may lift it up a little bit, but that generally helps a little bit. Here I want to have my face cam expand a little bit, but I don't want to have it a cut. I want it to expand out in a growth, similar to the way in which you would have something pop in and out. You'll be selecting here, scale and position, and then to where I want it to be at its maximum size, right there. Now I'm going to expand this out. I'm going to move this across a little bit. I could be doing this by motion, but sometimes it's just easier for me to fiddle with these settings just to get it a little bit right. And then this will be
To fornir on.
For the end slate, I'll have my subscribe screen up, which is just this, which is this here, and it has the audio underneath it. And I'll have 2 little video clips, which I've shrunk down to size. Now, these I already have pre-prepared, but generally you can just go into motion, you can put them on a different layer, and then you can fiddle with the motion, and put them anywhere, anywhere you want them to. And then you have your end title, and this is how my stream ends. Then I'm going to start working on the audio, which means I'm going to go to edit here, whilst I've got this selected. Make sure nothing here is selected, just go edit, edit in Adobe Audition, and sequence. If clip is an option, you don't want that. You want to make sure that it's specifically done so then it can do sequence. And make sure it's going into the right folder. make sure you have entire sequence. Dynamic linkers is generally a good way to do it, and I like to add audio handles of 1 second. You may not need it, but it's good to have it there. You're gonna have it automatically open up into Adobe Audition. Once it's all in here, I can look at the whole video as a whole. Now, I know that specifically this one is the one that has my vocals on it, so if I make this solo by clicking the S, I can play only my vocal audio.
I wish I could see his face, though.
Now, because my volume goes up and down as it naturally does, here it's quiet, and here it's quite loud. So there's major audio differences. So making sure that I have the audio selected, usually clicking this is the easiest, going over to Effects, Amplitude and Compression, and you can do different sorts of ones here. So you can go to Amplifier, Channel Mixer, Dynamics Processing one is one that I hear a lot of people using, but I use the Speech Volume Leveler. And then I set this up custom, in a very custom way. Now, fiddling around with this by yourself is the way in which I would suggest doing it, but I have a preset which I've saved. Now, I have this set as high to higher volume as possible. My leveling amount is generally around 50%, but here I've got it to 32%, and my target dynamic range is down here at 50-ish%. So that's what I've got there, and that is live and already, if I just press spacebar,
Then I would know whether he's a dwarf or not.
and you can see that the volume is up around here. Now, I could turn this off and you can quickly see a difference.
He is a vassal of this person, he's a lord of that place, Rock Pikes, and Butcher's Pit. Oh, Butcher's Pit sounds nice.
So that is what Dynamics Processing does. Now I could save the file and all that kind of stuff, but all I do is just export it, and I'm File, Export, Multi-Track Mixdown, Entire Session. Then I make sure that I've got the correct directory selected. I've got it set to MP3, and you set these how you want it. I've got it set to how I like it at the moment. You fiddle and play with that to get that right. I have it set to 44,100 Hertz, because that's what I have anyway, and stereo and 32-bit. And export. Now that that's exported, I go back to Premiere, I bring this up, and here is my exported audio, and I just drag that down here. I'm going to shrink this down by mouse scrolling the wheel back. I'm going to click in the middle here so I can see right down to the very bottom here, and I'm going to drag this at the very bottom. And because I don't like to erase stuff that I've already done in case I need to go back and edit it, I'm going to put this on its entirely own level of audio below master. If I go above master, it'll do its own thing. It'll erase things that are there, so there it goes. And then I click solo, and
Oh, dear lady, I hope this letter finds you well.
then I go File, Export, Media. Now, to streamline things, I've got presets saved. So I'm going to put this as copy of 30 frames per second for WTJB, which is where's the jump button. And once you've done something, you can just save the preset here. And I've got it on H.264. I've got this set to where it needs to be. I've got it set to 720 because I don't really need to output in 1080. 30 frames a second. Progressive. Progressive is very important. Make sure it's not interlaced. And then under constant bitrate, so then it renders a little bit quicker, and set to a bitrate of about 4 to 8. And I'm going to set this to about 5. And instead of just exporting it here, I'm going to click Q. That way, I can open up Adobe Media Encoder, which works a little bit faster. But I can set this to start rendering out. Well, I'm not going to do that now whilst I'm recording, because that'll cause issues. While that's normally recording, this is where I'll start to make my thumbnails. And I already have a thumbnail created, but here I can just go around, I can select, I go, there's an interesting face, I'm going to use that one. So I double click here, and it's going to bring this up, and I can click this button here, which will allow me to take a snapshot of just that little bit there. And I can stick that into Photoshop. But I have one I prepared earlier. Well, I hope this has helped you guys. I hope that you now know how to use Premiere. The basics of it, at the least. But I do want to do one of these, and I probably will have it out in the next couple of weeks. One on how to do it in Sony Vegas. And after that, I hope to have one for YouTube's in browser editor, which you can use for doing your live stream editing in, or a quick explanation on how to download those things, then you can chuck it in here. Bye!